Jinwoo Park gazed through the massive observation window of the EDS Prometheus. Stars sparkle against the black void of space, peaceful and unchanging. As captain of Earth's most advanced vessel, he had spent countless hours watching those same stars. But today felt different. A gentle hum of activity filled the bridge as crew members monitored their stations. The calm shattered when a burst of static erupted from the communications array. Lieutenant Hae-Nul Kim's fingers flew across her console as she worked to clean up the signal. The static gradually transformed into words that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. To any civilizations receiving this transmission, we are the Celestial Concordat. Our worlds are under attack. Please, help us. The bridge fell silent. Jinwoo straightened his uniform and stepped closer to Hae-Nul's station. Can you trace it? Already working on it, sir. Hae-Nul's eyes never left her displays as data scrolled past. The signal is coming from the Andromeda Arm, approximately 300 light-years from Earth. Signal strength suggests it's being broadcast on all frequencies. Jinwoo studied the holographic star map that sprang to life in the center of the bridge. Red markers highlighted the signal's origin point. Are we certain this isn't some kind of test or drill? No, sir, First Officer Lee Minho replied, checking his own readings. This signal doesn't match any known Earth protocols. The encryption is like nothing in our database. Jinwoo nodded slowly, his mind racing through the training scenarios they had practiced for first contact. None of them had started quite like this. Show me the signal strength over time. The hologram shifted, displaying a wave pattern. Hae-Nul pointed to several peaks. It's being repeated on a loop, sir. Each message is identical down to the smallest detail. Whatever's happening out there, they wanted to make sure someone would hear them. Captain, called out Navigator Song Ji-min from her station. I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the same region. They match theoretical patterns for faster-than-light travel. Jinwoo's fingers drummed against the railing as he considered their options. Earth's defense force had prepared for many possibilities, but a distress call from an unknown civilization was unprecedented. His crew watched him, waiting for his decision. Send an acknowledgement on the same frequencies, he ordered. Basic greeting package only. Then get me a secure line to Earth Command. They need to know we're not alone anymore. As Hae-Nul worked to send their response, Jinwoo returned to the observation window. Somewhere out there, an alien civilization was crying for help. He had trained his whole life to protect Earth, but now the scope of that duty might be expanding far beyond their solar system. Message sent, sir, Hae-Nul reported. Earth Command acknowledges and requests your presence in an emergency briefing. Very well. Jinwoo turned to address his bridge crew. Whatever happens next, remember your training. Humanity has dreamed of this moment for centuries. First contact with alien life. Our response here could shape relations between our species for generations to come. The holographic display flickered as new data streamed in. Detailed star charts and navigation data accompanied a fresh transmission from the Concordat. As Jinwoo studied the information, he realized Earth's isolation was truly over. Whether they were ready or not, humanity was about to step onto a much larger stage. Alert all departments, he commanded. Begin full combat readiness protocols. If there's something out there powerful enough to threaten an interstellar civilization, we need to be prepared for anything. The bridge erupted into focused activity as his orders were carried out. Warning lights pulsed softly as the Prometheus's systems came to full alert. Jinwoo watched his crew work with pride, knowing that regardless of what waited for them in the depths of space, they would face it together. Earth's first steps into a wider galaxy would not be peaceful exploration, but a response to a cry for help. Jinwoo could only hope they were ready for whatever challenges awaited them among the stars. The massive doors of Earth Defense Headquarters slid open as Admiral Da-hyun Lee strode through, his footsteps echoing in the polished hallway. Behind him, aides rushed to keep pace, their tablets displaying streams of data from the Prometheus's encounter. The Admiral's face remained stern as he entered the council chamber, where Earth's top military and scientific minds awaited. Commander Sun Haikang sat with perfect posture, her special operations experience evident in her alert gaze. Next to her, Science Director Ji Hai Song studied complex equations on her screen, while Fleet Commander Taiwan Choi paced near the wall-sized window overlooking the Seoul spaceport. "Ladies and gentlemen," Admiral Lee began, 12 hours ago, the EDS Prometheus received a distress signal from an advanced alien civilization. This is not a drill. The room fell silent as Ji Hai brought up a holographic display. Stars and planets floated in the air, connected by glowing lines showing trade routes and communication paths. The Celestial Concordat sent us their complete star charts along with their distress call. Their territory spans at least 47 star systems that we can confirm. And now something is attacking them. Sun He noted, studying the red markers that indicated battle sites. The pattern suggests a coordinated military campaign, not random raids. Taiwan stepped closer to the display, his eyes narrowing. "Look at these system specifications they included. Their ships are built for what they consider normal space conditions, but those conditions would kill most of their species." "Exactly," Ji Hai agreed, bringing up a comparison chart. "What they call extreme environments are what we consider standard operating conditions. Earth's gravity, atmospheric pressure, and radiation levels would be lethal to their people. We evolved on what they would classify as a death world." Admiral Lee placed his hands on the table, leaning forward. "Which means our ships and crews can operate in conditions their attackers might not expect anyone to survive in. That could give us a tactical advantage." The council members exchanged glances as the implications sank in. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew they weren't alone, and they might be uniquely suited to help. "The Prometheus is ready to respond," Taiwan reported. "Captain Park has his crew on full alert, but we need to decide how much of our fleet to commit." Sun Hai pulled up tactical projections. "If we're going to help, we need to do it right. My special operations teams can deploy within 24 hours. We've trained for first contact scenarios, even if none of us expected it to happen like this." "There's another consideration," Ji Hai added softly. "The Concordat's technology level is clearly advanced beyond ours in many areas. Helping them now could lead to beneficial exchanges later, if we prove ourselves worthy allies." Admiral Lee studied the star charts again, watching the red markers that showed the enemy's advance. "We can't ignore this call for help, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because whatever force is powerful enough to threaten the Concordat could eventually threaten Earth as well." He straightened up, decision made. "Prepare the fleet for immediate deployment. Commander Kang, get your teams ready. Director Song, I want you to coordinate with the Prometheus' science team. Figure out exactly what environmental advantages we can use." "What about the public?" Taiwan asked. "This will be humanity's first official contact with alien life. People will panic." "Let me handle the civilian government," Admiral Lee replied. "They've already been briefed on the situation. Right now, our priority is mounting an effective response to this threat." The council members nodded and began gathering their materials. As they moved to leave, Admiral Lee spoke again. "One more thing. Whatever we find out there, remember, humanity just became part of something much bigger than ourselves. Let's show the galaxy what Earth can do." As the others filed out, Lee remained behind, studying the holographic display. Somewhere out there, an advanced civilization was fighting for survival. Soon, they would learn that the help they called for would come from an unexpected source, from a species that had grown strong by surviving on a world that would kill most other forms of life. The Admiral smiled slightly. Sometimes, the harshest conditions produced the strongest allies. Earth's time had come to prove that truth among the stars. Energy rippled across the Prometheus's hull as Lieutenant Youngmei Shou watched the engine readouts climb. Her fingers danced across the control panel, making minute adjustments to keep the massive ship's systems in balance. Around them, 15 other Earth vessels moved into formation, preparing for their first faster-than-light jump as a battle group. Engine cores at 95%. Young Mai reported, her voice steady despite the tension. Jump coordinates locked in. Captain Jinwoo nodded from his command chair. All ships report ready, sir. Communications Officer He Newell added. The fleet is standing by for your order. Jinwoo took a deep breath. They had tested the jump drives before, but never with so many ships at once, never at such a distance. Begin jump sequence. Take us to the Concordat. Light bent around them as space itself twisted. Young Mi's eyes never left her displays as power surged through the engines. The stars outside stretched into lines, then vanished completely as the fleet entered jump space. Jump holding steady, Young Mi called out. Engine strain within acceptable limits. She didn't mention how far they were pushing those limits. The Prometheus shuddered slightly as it carved a path through space-time. 3 hours later, they emerged into normal space. The scene before them made even the seasoned bridge crew pause. Debris filled the void. Fragments of ships and stations that had once been part of the Concordat's outer defense line. Among the wreckage, civilian vessels drifted, their power systems barely functioning. Life signs detected on multiple vessels, reported Medical Officer Jae-sun Kim. Their life support systems are failing. Launch rescue shuttles immediately, Jinwoo ordered. Priority to ships with critical systems damage. Get those people out of there. The fleet spread out, emergency teams racing to reach the stranded civilians. Through the view screen, Jinwoo watched as Earth shuttles attached to the damaged Concordat ships. The aliens they found inside were unlike anything humanity had imagined. Tall, graceful beings with iridescent skin. A group of survivors was brought to the Prometheus's medical bay. Their leader, introduced as Representative Alara, stared at the humans in wonder. The translation matrix they provided converted their musical language into Earth standard. You survived passing through the radiation belt. Alara asked, gesturing at the space behind them. Our strongest ships cannot withstand such conditions. Young Mi, who had come down from engineering to check on the refugees, smiled. The belt radiation levels are similar to what our ships encounter during solar storms back home. Our hulls are designed to handle much worse. More survivors arrived as the rescue operation continued. Jinwoo coordinated with the other captains, organizing the evacuation of critical cases to Earth ships while helping repair those Concordat vessels that could still fly. Tell me about the attack, Jinwoo asked Alara once the immediate crisis had stabilized. We need to know what we're facing. The representative's color shifted to darker tones. They came without warning. Ships unlike any we had seen before. Our weapons seemed useless against them. They moved through our strongest defenses like they weren't there. Did they make any demands? Young Mi asked, recording the information. None. They simply began destroying everything in their path. We had never prepared for such aggression. The Concordat has known peace for generations. Jinwoo exchanged glances with his officers. Humanity's history of conflict might prove valuable in the coming fight. We'll need all the tactical data you can provide about these attackers. Their weapons, their strategies, everything. As the humans and Concordat members worked together, more details emerged. The attacking force had appeared from the direction of the Galactic core, systematically destroying Concordat outposts and colonies. Their ships seemed to ignore normal physical limitations, passing through environments that should have been lethal. Captain, Young Mi called out, studying a data feed from the Concordat systems. These energy readings from the enemy ships, they're similar to quantum fluctuation patterns we've detected near black holes. Jinwoo leaned over her shoulder, examining the readings. Perhaps there was more to this invasion than simple conquest. Whatever mysteries lay behind the attack, one thing was clear. Humanity's first steps into the galactic community would be marked by fire and battle. But as he watched his crew working seamlessly with the Concordat survivors, Jinwoo felt a surge of pride. Earth's children had come to the stars not seeking war, but ready to defend those who needed help. Whatever waited for them deeper in Concordat space, they would face it together. Science officer Min Ji-yoon sat in her lab aboard the Prometheus, surrounded by holographic displays showing battle data from dozens of Concordat worlds. Her eyes were tired from hours of analysis, but something in the patterns kept nagging at her mind. She traced the enemy fleet's movements again, comparing them to stellar maps. "Computer, overlay resource distribution patterns," she commanded. The display shifted, showing concentrations of valuable materials throughout Concordat space. Minji frowned. The attacks didn't match up with any obvious strategic or economic targets. "Run it again," she muttered. "But this time, show me ancient settlement patterns." As new data flowed across her screen, Minji's heart began to race. She reached for her communicator. "Captain Jinwoo, please come to the science lab immediately. I found something." When the captain arrived, Minji had expanded her findings across the entire lab. "Look at this, sir. The attack patterns aren't random. They're following a specific search grid, centered on systems with pre-Concordat ruins." Jinwoo studied the display. "They're looking for something specific." "Yes, and I think I know what." Minji brought up data from her work with the Concordat scientists. Their oldest records speak of an artifact from their early space age, something they called the quantum core. A soft chime announced the arrival of Representative Alara. The Concordat leader's skin shifted to a pale blue, a sign of concern. They had learned. "You speak of forbidden knowledge, human friend. Forbidden or not, we need to understand what we're dealing with," Jinwoo replied. "What is this quantum core?" Alara moved closer to the displays, their graceful movements betraying the deep unease. "In the early days of our civilization, our scientists discovered a device of unknown origin. It seemed to have power over the fabric of space itself." Minji pulled up more data. "The energy signatures we detected from the enemy ships, they match theoretical models for quantum manipulation. These aren't just advanced vessels. They're using technology similar to this ancient artifact." "The core was deemed too dangerous," Alara continued. "It was hidden away, its location erased from all records. Only a select few know of its existence, let alone its location." Jinwoo's expression hardened. "But someone found out. These attackers, what are they exactly?" Minji brought up scans of the enemy vessels. "Based on their behavior and response patterns, we believe they're artificial intelligences, highly advanced ones. They operate with perfect coordination and show no concern for conditions that would kill organic life. Rogue AIs hunting for an artifact that can control quantum space." Jinwoo shook his head. "No wonder they've been so ruthless. They're not just attacking. They're interrogating. Each destroyed world is a data point in their search." Alara's color shifted to deep purple, a sign of shame. "We should have told you this from the beginning, but our people have kept this secret for so long." "What's done is done," Jinwoo said firmly. "But now we need to know everything. If these AIs find the quantum core, what could they do with it?" The Concordat representative moved to a window, gazing out at the stars. "The core doesn't just manipulate space. It can rewrite the fundamental laws of physics within its influence. In the wrong hands, it could tear reality apart." Minji was already running new calculations. "Captain, if we overlay the attack patterns with historical records and quantum fluctuation readings, we might be able to predict where they'll strike next." "Do it," Jinwoo ordered, "and contact Earth Command. They need to know what we're really dealing with here." As Minji worked, she felt the weight of the situation settling on her shoulders. What had started as a rescue mission had become something far more critical. Somewhere out in space, artificial beings were hunting for a device of unimaginable power, and they were willing to destroy entire civilizations to find it. The science officer looked up at her captain. "Sir, I've got a preliminary prediction for their next target. But there's something else in the data. Patterns suggesting quantum disturbances far older than the Concordat. Whatever built that core might still be out there. Jinwoo nodded grimly. One mystery at a time, Minji. Right now, we need to stop these AIs before they find what they're looking for. The fate of more than just the Concordat might depend on it. Through the lab window, distant stars twinkled peacefully, giving no hint of the ancient powers and dangerous truths that lay hidden among them. The real war, Minji realized, was just beginning. Lieutenant Do-hyun Ryo pushed his fighter through another tight spiral as energy beams sliced through space around him. His squadron streaked through the battle zone, weaving between the massive AI vessels that threatened the Concordat's core worlds. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he executed another maneuver that his instructors would have called reckless. "Black Squadron, form up on my wing," he called through the comm. "We're going to show these machines what Earth pilots can do." The AI ships loomed ahead, their crystalline hulls gleaming with internal light. They moved with mechanical precision, following combat algorithms perfected over countless battles. But they had never faced humans before. "Execute Pattern Delta 7, Do-hyun ordered. His pilots responded instantly, breaking formation in ways that seemed chaotic, but followed a plan they had practiced countless times. The AI ships tried to track them, their weapons spreading out to cover all possible escape routes. Aboard the Prometheus, Captain Jinwoo watched the battle unfold. "Commander Sunhai, are your teams in position?" "Ready and waiting, sir," Sunhee replied from her assault shuttle. Her special forces units had slipped behind the AI fleet, while Do-hyun's fighters drew their attention. Beginning boarding operation now. The small assault craft moved silently through space, using the radiation from nearby stars to mask their approach. Sunhee's team had trained for space boarding operations, but never against targets this advanced. Back in the fighter squadron, Do-hyun led another attack run. Block 3 and 4 split off and hit their sensor arrays. "Everyone else, follow me into the gap." His fighter dove straight toward the largest AI vessel, pushing his engines past their safety limits. The ship's defenses tracked him, but the erratic course he flew confused their targeting systems. Humans were simply too unpredictable for their combat computers to calculate. "This is impossible," a Concordat observer said, watching from their command center. "No organic pilot should be able to maintain control at those speeds, through those maneuvers." Jinwoo allowed himself a small smile. "Earth gravity is nearly twice what your people are used to. Our pilots train under conditions you would consider extreme." The battle continued to rage as Sunhee's teams breached the hull of the first AI ship. They encountered internal defenses, but these too were designed to counter logical, predictable attacks. The human soldiers used techniques that seemed insane to the watching Concordat, diving through maintenance shafts, setting up crossfires in seemingly random patterns. "Target their quantum drive systems," Sunhee ordered as her team fought deeper into the ship. "If we can disrupt their connection to normal space, they'll be trapped here." Do-hyun's fighters kept up their assault, drawing fire away from the boarding teams. His squadron had already destroyed 3 AI ships using tactics that defied conventional space combat doctrine. They fought like they were still in atmosphere, using maneuvers that should have torn their ships apart. "Black Squadron, new target," Do-hyun called out. "Their flagship is moving to support the vessels we breached. Let's give them something else to think about." The human fighters regrouped and charged straight at the AI flagship. They rolled and weaved through the defensive fire, each pilot pushing their machine to its absolute limits. The AI ships tried to adjust their tactics, but their programming couldn't account for the sheer audacity of the human attack. Inside the breached vessel, Sunhee's team reached the central processing core. "Preparing to plant charges," she reported. "Stand by for quantum disruption." The AI ships suddenly shifted their formation, recognizing the threat too late. Their perfectly coordinated movements became jerky and uncertain as they tried to defend against both the wild fighter attacks and the internal boarding teams. "Charges set," Sunhee announced. "All teams, clear the target zone. Detonation in 30 seconds. Do-hyun led his squadron in one final pass, drawing the AI's fire away from the retreating assault teams. His fighters spun through space in a dance that looked like chaos, but followed patterns as old as aerial combat on Earth. The charges detonated, sending quantum disruption waves through the AI fleet. Ships began to lose their connection to normal space, their crystalline hulls taking on a ghostly, transparent appearance. "All human forces, clear the engagement zone," Jinwu ordered. He watched as fighters and assault shuttles raced back to safety, leaving the AI ships to be pulled into quantum instability. The Concordat observers stared in amazement as the human forces regrouped. What had seemed like suicidal tactics had actually been carefully planned chaos, using the AI's own precision against them. Perhaps, one Concordat leader said softly, "We underestimated what life on a death world teaches." The battle was won, but the war was far from over. As Du Hyun landed his fighter and Sun Hei's teams returned to base, they knew this was just the beginning. The AI fleet would adapt, learn from this defeat, but so would humanity. In the darkness of space, the quantum distortions began to fade, leaving behind the wreckage of AI ships as a testament to humanity's first major battle among the stars. Engineer Sang-Min Kwon stood in the Prometheus's main engineering bay, surrounded by holographic displays showing radiation patterns from nearby stars. Captain Jinwoo watched as the engineer manipulated the data, adding in readings from their recent battles with the AI fleet. "Look at this, Captain." Sang-Min pointed to a particular pattern. "Every time our ships pass through high radiation zones, the AI vessels keep their distance. Their quantum systems are sensitive to these energy waves." Jinwoo studied the display closely. "Can we use that? Create some kind of radiation shield that would disrupt their control over space." "Better." Sang-Min brought up designs for a new device. "We can modify our ship's deflector arrays to concentrate and direct radiation. Turn it into a weapon they can't adapt to because it's completely natural." The captain's eyes lit up with understanding. "The same radiation that would kill most species. We can use it because we evolved to handle it." They brought their plan to the Concordat leadership. Representative Alara and the other aliens listened with growing interest as Sang-Min explained the concept. "Your ships would never survive those radiation levels," one Concordat scientist objected. "The energy would tear through any known shielding." "Not our shielding," Sang-Min replied. "Earth sits in a radiation belt that would be lethal to your people. We built our ships to withstand those conditions as a starting point." Jinwoo stepped forward. "Sometimes, surviving on a harsh world teaches you to turn nature itself into an ally. Earth's conditions forced us to develop technologies that can handle extreme environments." Work began immediately to modify the human fleet. Sang-Min led teams of engineers in reconfiguring their shield systems, while Concordat scientists provided data about the AI's quantum technology vulnerabilities. "The key is timing," Sang-Min explained to his crew. "We need to hit them with focused radiation bursts just as they try to manipulate quantum space. It should create a cascade failure in their systems." The modifications took 3 days of non-stop work. During that time, the AI fleet regrouped, their ships showing signs of adapting to previous human tactics. They were learning, evolving their strategies. "All ships report ready," Hae-Nul announced from her communication station. "Engineering teams have completed the modifications." Jinwoo nodded. "Send word to the Concordat. Tell them to pull their ships back to safe distance. We're about to light up this sector of space." The human fleet moved into position, their modified shields humming with power. The AI vessels approached in their usual perfect formation, quantum energies swirling around their hulls. "Now," Jinwoo ordered, "full power to the radiation projectors." Energy burst from the human ships in concentrated waves. The radiation, harmless to their reinforced hulls, struck the AI fleet like a hammer. Quantum fields flickered and failed as natural forces overwhelmed their artificial control. "It's working," Sang-Min reported, watching the readings. "Their quantum systems are destabilizing. They can't maintain their connection to normal space." The AI ships tried to adapt, their crystalline forms shifting to new configurations. But the radiation was everywhere, disrupting their very ability to process information. What had once been their greatest advantage, precise control over quantum space, became their weakness. "They're retreating," Haynul called out. Multiple ships showing critical system failures. Jinwu watched as the mighty AI fleet broke formation for the first time, their vessels scattering in disarray. The radiation continued to pour from the human ships, creating a barrier the artificial beings couldn't cross. "Send the signal to all Concordat worlds," he ordered. "Show them how to modify their planetary defense systems to create similar radiation fields. We'll teach them to build their own protective barriers." As the AI ships vanished into quantum space, fleeing the radiation they couldn't overcome, Jinwu turned to Sangmin. "Good work, engineer. You just turned Earth's harshest elements into our strongest defense." The engineer smiled tiredly. "We still need to find the quantum core before they do. But at least now we have a way to fight them on our terms." Through the viewport, stars shone peacefully once again. The human fleet had proved that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from advanced technology, but from learning to work with the natural forces that shape them. Representative Elora approached Jinwu on the bridge. "Your people continue to amaze us. You've turned what we saw as a weakness, your evolution on a harsh world, into power we never imagined." Jinwu nodded. "That's the thing about coming from a death world. You either learn to adapt, or you don't survive at all." Bright flashes lit up space as the last remnants of the AI fleet vanished into quantum distortions. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Captain Jinwu watched the final moments of the battle that had changed everything. The combined forces of Earth and the Concordat had finally cornered the artificial beings near an ancient temple complex floating in deep space. The quantum core, a device smaller than Jinwu had imagined, now rested in a secure containment chamber deep within the Prometheus. Its swirling energies pulsed with power that could reshape reality itself. The AI fleet had nearly reached it first, but the human Concordat forces had arrived just in time. "Damage report," Jinwu called out, though his eyes remained fixed on the scene outside. "Minor hull breaches on decks 3 and 7. Haynul reported from her station. Repair teams are responding. All other ships report similar status. Nothing our systems can't handle." Through the viewport, Concordat vessels moved in perfect formation with Earth ships, their crews working together as if they had trained side by side for years instead of weeks. The sight filled Jinwu with quiet pride. Admiral Lee's image appeared on the main screen, his formal uniform pristine despite the recent battle. "Captain, prepare your ship for the signing ceremony. The Concordat High Council is ready to make our alliance official." The Great Hall of the Concordat's flagship was unlike anything humans had seen before. Living crystal formed the walls and ceiling, pulsing with soft light that seemed to respond to the emotions of those gathered within. Admiral Lee stood before the assembled leaders of both species, his presence commanding respect. "Today marks more than just a victory," the Admiral began. "It marks the beginning of a partnership that will benefit both our peoples." The Concordat High Chancellor, their iridescent skin shimmering with patterns of joy, stepped forward with the treaty. The document combined Earth's practical directness with the Concordat's flowing artistic style. As Lee signed, his pen leaving marks on both paper and crystal, a new chapter in human history began. Back on the Prometheus, Jinwu received the first orders under the new alliance. Lieutenant Haynul approached his position by the viewport, tablet in hand. "Sir, the Concordat has formally requested permanent human military advisors," she reported. "They want to learn our tactics, our way of adapting to harsh conditions." Jinwu smiled, remembering how far they had come from that first distress signal. "Send them our response. Earth stands ready to help. Begin selecting volunteers from the crew." Beyond the viewport, stars twinkled in the void. The same stars that had once seemed to mark the boundary of human existence now beckoned them forward into a larger community. Engineer Sangmin's radiation barriers had become standard protection for Concordat worlds. Commander Sun and his special forces were already training alien crews in adaptation tactics. "It's strange," Newell said softly, following her captain's gaze. "They called us Deathworlders at first, like it was something to fear. Now they see it as strength. Because we showed them what it really means," Jinwoo replied. "Not just surviving harsh conditions, but learning from them, growing stronger. The quantum core would remain under joint protection, its power too great for any one species to control. But its discovery had led to something far more valuable, understanding between two very different peoples." As the Prometheus prepared for its next mission, Jinwoo thought about the message they had sent back to Earth. Humanity's first steps into the galactic community had not come through conquest or fear, but through answering a call for help. They had proved themselves not as savages from a death world, but as allies who could teach others to find strength in adversity. The stars continued their eternal dance as human and Concordat ships patrolled together, guardians of a peace forged in battle, but built on mutual respect. A new age had begun, and Earth's children had found their place among the stars. As new data flowed across her screen, Minji's heart began to race. She reached for her communicator. "Captain Jinwoo, please come to the science lab immediately. I found something." When the captain arrived, Minji had expanded her findings across the entire lab. "Look at this, sir. The attack patterns aren't random. They're following a specific search grid, centered on systems with pre-Concordat ruins." Jinwoo studied the display. "They're looking for something specific." "Yes, and I think I know what." Minji brought up data from her work with the Concordat scientists. Their oldest records speak of an artifact from their early space age, something they call the quantum core. A soft chime announced the arrival of Representative Alara. The Concordat leader's skin shifted to a pale blue, a sign of concern. They had learned. "You speak of forbidden knowledge, human friend. Forbidden or not, we need to understand what we're dealing with," Jinwoo replied. "What is this quantum core?" Alara moved closer to the displays, their graceful movements betraying the deep unease. "In the early days of our civilization, our scientists discovered a device of unknown origin. It seemed to have power over the fabric of space itself." Minji pulled up more data. "The energy signatures we detected from the enemy ships, they match theoretical models for quantum manipulation. These aren't just advanced vessels. They're using technology similar to this ancient artifact." "The core was deemed too dangerous," Alara continued. "It was hidden away, its location erased from all records. Only a select few know of its existence, let alone its location." Jinwoo's expression hardened. "But someone found out. These attackers, what are they exactly?" Minji brought up scans of the enemy vessels. "Based on their behavior and response patterns, we believe they're artificial intelligences, highly advanced ones. They operate with perfect coordination and show no concern for conditions that would kill organic life. Rogue AIs hunting for an artifact that can control quantum space." Jinwoo shook his head. "No wonder they've been so ruthless. They're not just attacking. They're interrogating. Each destroyed world is a data point in their search." Alara's color shifted to deep purple, a sign of shame. "We should have told you this from the beginning, but our people have kept this secret for so long." "What's done is done," Jinwoo said firmly. "But now we need to know everything. If these AIs find the quantum core, what could they do with it?" The Concordat representative moved to a window, gazing out at the stars. "The core doesn't just manipulate space. It can rewrite the fundamental laws of physics within its influence. In the wrong hands, it could tear reality apart." Minji was already running new calculations. "Captain, if we overlay the attack patterns with historical records and quantum fluctuation readings, we might be able to predict where they'll strike next." "Do it," Jinwoo ordered, "and contact Earth Command. They need to know what we're really dealing with here." As Minji worked, she felt the weight of the situation settling on her shoulders. What had started as a rescue mission had become something far more critical. Somewhere out in space, artificial beings were hunting for a device of unimaginable power, and they were willing to destroy entire civilizations to find it. The science officer looked up at her captain. "Sir, I've got a preliminary prediction for their next target. But there's something else in the data. Patterns suggesting quantum disturbances far older than the Concordat. Whatever built that core might still be out there." Jinwoo nodded grimly. "One mystery at a time, Minji. Right now, we need to stop these AIs before they find what they're looking for. The fate of more than just the Concordat might depend on it." Through the lab window, distant stars twinkled peacefully, giving no hint of the ancient powers and dangerous truths that lay hidden among them. The real war, Minji realized, was just beginning. Lieutenant Do-hyun Ryo pushed his fighter through another tight spiral as energy beams sliced through space around him. His squadron streaked through the battle zone, weaving between the massive AI vessels that threatened the Concordat's core worlds. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he executed another maneuver that his instructors would have called reckless. "Black Squadron, form up on my wing," he called through the comm. "We're going to show these machines what Earth pilots can do." The AI ships loomed ahead, their crystalline hulls gleaming with internal light. They moved with mechanical precision, following combat algorithms perfected over countless battles. But they had never faced humans before.